Norse settlement in the Faroe Islands can be traced back to sometime between the 9th and 10th centuries CE, with the first Viking to ever set foot on the Faroe Islands arguably around the late 8th century. The Vikings lay claim to the fact that they were the first to discover the Faroe Islands, while accounts from Irish priests such as Diciul claim monks were the hundreds of years beforehand. Settlement. The history of the Vikings' settlement of the Faroe Islands comes from the Saga, a manuscript that is now lost. Portions of the tale were inscribed in 3 other sagas, such as Flateyjarbók, Saga of Olaf Tryggvason, and Am 62 Fall. Similar to other sagas, the historical credibility of the the Saga is highly questioned. Both the Saga of Olaf Tryggvason and Flateyjarbók claim a man named Grimur Kamban was the first man to discover the Faroe Islands. However, the two sources disagree on the year in which he left and the cause of his departure. Flateyjarbók details the emigration of Grimur Kamban as sometime during the reign of Harald Harfager, between 872–930 CE. The Saga of Olaf Tryggvason indicates that Kamban was residing in the Faroes long before the rule of Harald Harfager, and that other Norse were driven to the Faroe Islands due to his chaotic rule. This mass migration to the Faroe Islands shows a prior knowledge of the location of Viking settlements, furthering the claim of Grimur Kamban's settlement much earlier. While Kamban is recognized as the first Viking settler of the Faroe Islands, he actually resettled the island. Writings from the Papa, an order of Irish monks, indicate the settling of the Faroes long before Vikings ever set foot there, only leaving due to ongoing Viking raids. Evidence. A Viking farm, found in the village of Kivivik on the island Streymoy, shows substantial evidence of a Viking farm done in a style common to the Faroe Islands. A Viking longhouse was unearthed during an excavation alongside a byre. This find furthers the validity of the sagas by providing an aspect of the agricultural lifestyle being brought from Norway to the Faroe Islands. A more complete example of the agricultural Norse lifestyle on the Faroe Islands can be found at Doftanes, where a preserved longhouse was unearthed with its walls intact. The structure was made of stones and earth and measured 20 meters by 5 meters. A byre was attached to the eastern wall of the longhouse and both what has been determined to be an outhouse. Also on the north end was a house laid in old embers and charcoal. This room was determined to be for making fires. The Sandavaga stone is a rune stone discovered in 1917 in Sandvaga. The inscription tells of a man from Norway who first settled that area. Economy. Most of the evidence uncovered suggests that the Viking communities residing on the Faroe Islands in the pre-Christian period were based heavily on crop cultivation and raising livestock. Bones of the livestock excavated show they raised sheep, goats, pigs and cows. Reliance on the land is indicated in certain names of settlements. The town of Akraberg and Høyvik, at Doftanes. Materials Vikings used for fishing, such as spindle whorls and linear net sinkers, suggesting a utilization of the island's natural resources for goods. Numerous wooden bowls and spoons made from a local trees were uncovered, as well as basalt and tufa. The Vikings were masters of adapting to the surrounding environment and utilizing every resource possible. The settlers at Junkaronsflotta had a diet heavy with native birds, particularly puffin. Although the Viking did rely heavily on the land of the Faroe Islands, they did not completely sever ties with the native Norway though. Even though many of the Viking settlements on the Faroe Islands were due to the tyrannical reign Harald Harfager, the Norse still maintained contact with Scandinavia via trade. At Doftanes, a large quantity of steatite was unearthed in the form of fragments of bowls and saucepans. Steatite is not a material local to the Faroe Islands, but Norway. In addition, due to difficulties with barley production, a community in Sander is shown to have imported barley from Scandinavia. The Viking communities were not only in contact with Scandinavia though. Two Hiberno-Norse ring pins and a dew bracelet identified as being from the Irish Sea region were discovered at Toftanes. The Norse who settled at the Faroe Islands appear to have maintained the Viking tradition of mercantilism throughout the Atlantic.